Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here and I'm really excited for today's video because we're going to be chatting about 4 AI tools that I have absolutely loved using in my photography business. So I know AI's been a hot topic for probably the last maybe 3 years, maybe longer than that. And I know some people are really excited, enjoying it. A lot of people are a little more hesitant, not really sure where to dive in. But I do think that as small business owners, especially anyone in a business that could really benefit from this, should really take advantage of it in an ethical way, of course. So I'm going to be chatting about a couple of different programs that I've really enjoyed using and how exactly I've used them. And I hope that if you're someone who is still kind of toying around with the idea of incorporating AI into your photography business, I really hope that this video will challenge you, encourage you, and just give you some ideas of where you can start, especially when it comes to outsourcing, dividing your time, batch working. These are all tools that have really helped me accomplish that. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the first tool that I really enjoyed using. Okay, so the first program that I've absolutely loved using is Imagen AI. And just for disclaimer, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this. I've heard some people say Imagen, some people have said Imagen. So I've said Imagen this entire time I've used it. So I'm gonna continue saying that and hope it's not wrong for the purpose of this video. So Imagen/Imagen, now I'm gonna keep thinking that. Okay, Imagen, we're calling it Imagen. So it is basically an AI editor who typically learns your style, and you basically have to upload a good bit of photos for it to learn how exactly you edit, what your style is like, how you edit certain situations. So especially for event photographers, so with weddings specifically, it really did learn how I edit portraits versus reception photos versus nighttime photos. So I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical when I first heard about this, but I was also at a point as someone who was using a private editor where the company I was using shifted and they changed some things and it just wasn't working out the way I had hoped. So I had the decision to either stick with that company and the changes they were making or kind of explore this new tool and see if it worked. So that's what I did, and honestly, I am blown away by how much easier and honestly cheaper as well, just being totally transparent. So I really, with my editing process, what I would do is my private editor would basically do the first round of edits. So I still go through and re-edit every image, so there's no situation in which I get a catalog back and then I just send it to a client. That's never happened, and it never will happen. But I did notice that the exact same process that I had with a private editor was really very seamlessly shifted over to this Imagen robot. So basically, what the process was, and I can definitely do a separate video about this, and if you're curious about this, leave any questions you have just so I have some ideas of what exactly to tailor that video to. But what the process looked like really simply is so I downloaded Imagen and then I started to create a profile. So what the profile basically did is it just learned my style, and that happened by uploading a lot of photos and for it to kind of get an idea of how different situations were handled, so how I would edit different situations. And then basically it would start to edit new catalogs, but I would always upload the final edits to continue to train the robot. I can't think of anything else to call it, so that's what we're calling it. So this has saved me so much time. It really genuinely does exactly and honestly better of a job than what previous editors I had worked with had done. And I'm still able to go through and just make those kind of quality control changes to make sure everything is perfect before I send it back to the client. So 100% one of the tools I would definitely recommend if you are curious about AI, you want to start utilizing it in your photography business. but maybe you're not 100% sure where to start exactly. Okay, the second AI tool I have absolutely loved using in my business is a tool called Fathom. So there are probably some similar versions of this, maybe other software, but Fathom is basically an AI note-taking app that you can incorporate into your Zoom calls. So this additional person is taking notes during your Zoom calls. So I use this for all client meetings that are held virtually. So any type of consultation, any type of follow-up call, new client consultations, calls leading up to an event, any type of Zoom interaction I'm having, I use Fathom. And a few reasons I've absolutely loved incorporating this is, one, I am not furiously taking notes anymore. I am still writing some things down, but Fathom does such an incredible job of basically summarizing everything that was discussed on that call, down to the point of actually having themes, bullet points. It does such an incredible job. So one thing, again, we're doing this ethically, right? As I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So one thing is I always tell the client, ask them, make sure they're comfortable with that. I'll say something like, hey, just so you know, you might see up in the corner, this says Dilshad Yogi Smith's note-taking, and I just explain to them what it is. They always think it's really cool. I've actually never had a client say, I'm not comfortable with that. But if they were to say that, then that's fine. I would just X off. So a few ways Fathom has made things really efficient and just saved me a lot of time is, one, I am, yes, writing down my own notes, but I'm not disengaging from the conversation and then having to re-engage because I'm writing down, trying to scramble to write every single thing down, and then coming back into the conversation and trying to pick up where maybe the client left off. So that's something just personally I've always struggled with, is just trying to write notes, listen, stay engaged, come back, make sure everything is captured on paper that I want to so I can revisit it. And so having this note-taking app basically do that for me, and then for me to have my notes in tandem with what the note-taking app did for me has been so valuable. And I especially love doing this before events, before follow-up calls, because I can really go back to the call and just pinpoint everything we talked about. I can go back and see really important facts that maybe I could have missed if I didn't write it down, but then listen to something else they would have said. So I feel like this has helped me be a lot more prepared for events, for shoots, for other client meetings. And the best part is that it is free. So I will link all of these in the description actually. So I'll link Fathom, of course, I'll link Imagen, and I highly recommend. Okay, the third tool I've loved incorporating into my business, and this probably won't come as a shock, but is Chat GPT. And I laugh a little because I feel like there's been some humor and joking around Chat GPT, and just for me, I can really clearly see when something has just been copied and pasted from Chat GPT. So again, let's go back to using this ethically, okay? I think a really big reason a lot of people are afraid of using AI in their businesses is because they don't want to dehumanize it. They don't want it to feel like it's not them. They don't want it to feel fake, and I completely understand that. So everything I'm telling you here are ways that I've incorporated AI into my business, but in a way that has just made things more efficient, made things flow a little bit more easily for me, and in no way has made it feel like I am not the business owner anymore. So I want to chat with you about how I've been using ChatGPT in my business without literally copying and pasting everything it says. So for starters, I have never ever, and I never will, directly copy and paste something that ChatGPT says. And here's why. I like using ChatGPT to generate ideas, to help me brainstorm ideas, to come up with content ideas. And a really big way that this has been useful for me is being able to act as though I am an ideal client. So I can say, for example, I am a bride tell me 10 things, I'm just making something up. I'm a bride, tell me 10 things I should know about my wedding reception. And it's just interesting to see what might populate, because I think as business owners, whether you're a photographer, you're in the wedding industry, you are in creative education, a lot of the things we know, we might not realize are topics that not everybody knows. So I think it's actually been really interesting to use Chat GPT and use sites like Ask the Population to get an idea of what people are asking, what they might have questions around, and then tailor content specifically to that. So that being said, it's really been such a great brainstorming tool. I love being able to give it prompts, so any type of list type ideas. So an example is, give me 10 problems that a bride planning her wedding might run into, something like that. But I have never and will never type in something like, write me a caption for Instagram and then just copy and paste it verbatim. Now, I do think you can maybe start with this and adjust some things, but if you want it to feel like you, I highly, highly recommend to just use ChatGPT as a tool to brainstorm, come up with ideas, maybe adjust some things. But to be completely honest, in my perspective, I think it's becoming a lot more obvious when things are purely pasted from ChatGPT, this like AI word vomit in a sense. It's actually really, really easy to see through now. So use this tool for what it is, but do it in a way that feels right for you. Okay, the fourth tool I've absolutely loved using that has saved me in so many occasions is the Generative AI Fill tool on Photoshop. So you probably knew this was coming if you are a photographer especially, but if you are a small business owner and you use Photoshop, I highly, highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to definitely incorporate this. There are so many things you can do within this tool. For me as a wedding photographer specifically, I have used it to remove some crazy objects that definitely couldn't be just healed out or anything like that. And I can definitely do a separate video about this if you'd like, but I do think that having this tool is a really wonderful way that we can just elevate how we serve our clients, because now we have even more technology and more resources that we can utilize to really give them an excellent product that just goes above and beyond. So I love, love, love this Photoshop feature, and I am more than happy to do a tutorial about that if you would like. So just to recap, the four tools were Imagen, the photo editing tool, Fathom, the note-taking AI tool, Chat GPT for brainstorming, for content creation, for coming up with ideas for your marketing, and then finally, Generative AI on Photoshop. So please feel free, leave whatever questions you have, and I'm actually gonna do some deep dive videos on each of these tools I mentioned. This was kind of more of an intro, just giving you some ideas of some tools you can start using as well.